So the next couple of steps on the vertical stabilizer, before I get around to riveting the skin onto the skeleton for good, the next couple of steps actually involve preparing and assembling these parts. These are this is the lower or the bottom rudder hinge bracket and the rudder stops. Now, these are different than the parts that should have come in the original empennage kit. The original bottom rudder hinge bracket was similar to the middle and top rudder hinge bracket, in which it was two identical pieces, really, L-shaped pieces that are riveted, in opposite directions, and that forms the bracket. This is a single piece. This is what Vans sent me because they were evidently in the process of updating the kit and the design with this single piece. And then the stops are a little different as well because of how they fit in here. So that's fine. The next couple of steps are basically to clean out these holes with the number 12 drill bit. Just clean out the powder coating, and then heavily deburr and straighten these parts here, the parts that make up the rudder stop. They don't look, I don't know if they need to be straightened, but I'll check them and straighten them if necessary. The way these work is, they'll go in here. They're kind of tight right now because they've still got the vinyl on them. But they basically go in there, and there's some screws that hold those in. I guess the advantage to that is if these wear from the rudder hitting them, I guess over time, I can't imagine that they would wear very quickly. But you could take them apart and replace them, and then this part is actually the very last thing you do to complete the vertical stabilizer. Is once this is put together, rather than assembling it to the rear spar once you put it together and before you do the skin, they tell you to leave it off until the very last, so you have better access to everything when you're putting the skin on. And then, so the last thing I'll do will be to attach this to the back of the spar. So I'm gonna get to work cleaning these up and then assembling these, into here, and then that's it. So I doubt this will be super exciting, just a lot of deburring mostly, so I'll probably film it in time lapse. And so here we go. So first things first, peel off the vinyl off the rudder stop parts, and then I go ahead and get that number 12 drill bit and clean out the holes in the hinge bracket. Use the deburring tool as well, just to clean them up a little more, kind of around the outer edges. And there I'm taking a straight edge and just checking to see, do the rudder stops really need to be straightened? It didn't appear that they needed to be straightened at all, but I will come back to that. So the plans say to heavily deburr these parts, and it's pretty obvious why they say heavily. They're pretty rough. They actually have, maybe you'd call them tooling marks. They almost look like they were in a sprue, and sort of cut out of that, and they have little lumps where they were broken out. I don't know that that's really how they're manufactured. That's just what it reminded me of, because they have some significant little bumps. The 1-inch belt sander really did most of the work. Probably could have done that instead of the file, but did that. Then I moved over to the 3M wheel. I did use a file inside, the V shape of those rudder stops. It's kind of the only way you could get in there was with a curved file. So yeah, just kept working at it. Did both parts, and then what I did once I got them, pretty well deburred, since the two pieces of the rudder stop basically, it's two pieces sandwiched together to make like one big piece, really. So I took the two of them, took the bolts that are going to be used to hold them into the rudder bracket, the hinge bracket, and used those bolts to, through
through the two parts just to keep them in alignment, and then continued to sort of polish them down just a little bit more, just so that they kind of had the same edge to them. And when I started putting them together like that, I realized then that there was a little bit of a bow to them, and so I decided I would try and straighten them a little bit. So once I get done working on them here, basically take them back over and well, first I deburred the holes in them, and then actually I ended up taking my drill with a 3M 1-inch 3M wheel and working a little bit more on the inside of that V shape. But then right here, in order to straighten them out, I kind of decide what orientation I want them, and then I just sort of held them down on the back of the plate and just tapped on them with a hammer a little bit, and that worked fine. So I go ahead and assemble it into the hinge bracket and get out the wrenches to tighten it down. I didn't actually tighten it down all the way. I figure I can do that, basically whenever I want to, because this is going to be on the outside of the plane. But yeah, so there it is. Now I slowed this down here because you got to watch this genius move with the ratchet set. So here I am putting away my tools. Oh, oh jeez, I hate that. Is this the guy you won't build in your plane? But in my defense, I have more than one ratchet set, and that's the only one where the parts don't actually clip down to the bottom.
All right, so there's the mostly completed bottom rudder hinge bracket with rudder stop in place. I say mostly completed because I haven't tightened these all the way down yet. I'll wait on that until, I'll probably wait until I'm assembling the rudder rod end bearing to the hinge, because then I'll be running a bolt through there and tightening everything down. So yeah, it still needs to be attached right here to the back side of the spar, but that happens after you attach the skin and to give access to do the rivets right here in the spar flange to the spar cap. So that's it.